All right, what's going on? It's Wall Street Ray. Welcome to another weekly outlook. Today's date is June 28th, and we are locked in preparing for another monster week. Because if we stay ready, we ain't gotta get ready. And I'm excited to keep this streak alive. We've been crushing it. You guys have been crushing it. You guys are making a lot of money, right? A lot of money. And it's just the beginning. All right. So let's continue to prepare. So that way there ain't no surprises this week, right? And we can actually have a game plan ready to roll. Right. It's like watching film. It's like studying your opponent before the game so that way, when the game gets here and it's time to go to war, it's time to go to battle, we already kind of have an idea of what they're gonna do. We already know the plays they're gonna throw at us. We already know, the defensive schemes they're gonna throw at us, and now it's just about us calling the right plays for the schemes that they're gonna give us, right? And if you don't know, I know we got a lot of new people. I like using sports analogies when I'm teaching and stuff. However, I can personify the teaching, however, I can personify, trading is what I'm gonna try to do to make sure you guys get a better understanding. And again, this is just us mentally preparing and schematically preparing for what the market's gonna throw at us. All right. So last week, obviously we had a really, really strong week last week. We caught several moves in the markets across, indices, futures, all that type of stuff. And a couple of the setups. Move some of this a little bit. Essentially, what I could see happening here is I could see a bullish rally taking place. All right. I could definitely see a bullish rally taking place. And now the question is where to? Okay. Where is this bullish rally going to take us? Now, I got to peek over here to the left because I see a footprint just hanging out all by itself up here. We also have a hezi, okay? Have a hezi right here, okay? So the market hesitated off of this area of demand, printed that blue candle right there, right? Printed that blue candle before it crossed over bearish. So what I could do is I can mark up the top of that blue candle, but also if we just look to the left of it a couple times, you see we got another couple candles before we get to the bearish blue footprint or the fair value gap, all right? So I'm gonna just take that into consideration as well. So rather than just marking up that blue wick or that blue candle, I'm gonna go ahead and mark up that one because that's the last candle before that footprint takes place. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and mark that up, draw that into the future. All right. Simple. So I do understand that the market is likely to be attracted to an area like this. Okay. Now, when I look at everything that's going on underneath, okay, when I look at this high here, yes, we do have a strong high. I can see that. Massive push to the downside, market retraced, push to the downside again, and now we're no longer making those lower lows, right? Market is now making higher lows and it's pushing up. So now the question is where does this market want to push up to? Okay. First things first, we could probably pay attention to this area here. All right. Because we do have a footprint here, we do have a hesitation, we do have a crossover. So I do believe that the market is likely to be met with some resistance around that 29,800 area. All right. Now, however, I don't necessarily feel like this area is going to send the market to a lower low. I don't see that happening just yet. Okay. Do I think the market can make a lower low in due time? I do, but I don't see it happening just yet. I heard talks about a potential ceasefire, but here's the thing. At this point, I don't think we can really believe anything that Donald Trump says. And I'm not saying that I believe there's a ceasefire or I don't believe there's a ceasefire, but as we've been able to see for the past several weeks, the markets, regardless if we believe them here on this call, the markets have to believe them for the time being, right? So at least for the next couple of days, probably we'll get some bullishness, right? And then as we start to clear out some highs, right? As we start to clear out this mess here, we clear out this mess here, we even clear out this mess here. I can see a lot of people not paying attention to this Hezi crossover, right? A lot of people are going to be fixated on this supply level here, this supply level here, this supply level here. Everybody is fixated on what's going on right here in front of them, but very rarely do people peek over here to the left to see what's really going on, all right? This is the last really clean Hezi crossover we get, okay? If we're looking at everything that has taken place from this high up here to this low down here, this is the last real clean, unmitigated Hezi crossover that we see, right? All these other supply zones, although this one here hasn't been mitigated, at the same time, it's like, can you really trust this supply zone to be, a real area of interest when you have lows that have already been swept, right? So one thing I tell you guys a lot is you want to see which side of the market is taking liquidity and which side is creating liquidity. All right. Now I'm gonna quiz somebody real quick. Somebody that's just gotten into the course and maybe you might be new, may have been here even a while, right? We got some strong highs right here. Okay. We got some strong highs up here. We also got some strong lows right here. Okay. We also got another strong high here. Now, however, I don't think that this supply zone is strong. I don't think this supply zone is strong either. Why would I not take this sell or this one over here if the highs are strong? Why would I not take that sell? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
Potential trap.
Yeah, for sure. It's a trap for sure, but why is it a trap? I'm gonna give y'all a hint. Both sides of the market are sweeping lows. So how do I know which one to trust?
You're gonna trust the one with the Hezi crossover?
The one that's sweeping the low the most violently.
Yeah, that's the answer I want right there. Right?
Okay.
Because you're not gonna always get the clean Hezi crossover on every single setup, right? I would argue that there's no clean Hezi crossover over here, at least not yet. All right. So, but the simple fact that, and I could honestly say that this high here with this hesitation crossover, this one is probably more obvious than anything we're seeing happening currently. So realistically, you could easily say that that's a potential sell, right? And don't get me wrong, I do think that this will probably create a reaction, but I don't think it'll come in clear lows, right? The reason I don't think it'll come and make new lows is because if I measure this sweep right here, okay, this one is about 135 points, okay? If I measure this sweep here, this one is about 30 points. This one here is about 40 points, right? So we got a 30-point sweep, 45-point sweep, and then we have a 135-point sweep on the lows. So that means this low took significantly more liquidity than this high and this high, okay? So me understanding that, now this kind of gives you insight as to why this sell didn't break this low. You understand that? That's the reason why this sell didn't break this low, because even though you got a strong high Hezi crossover, and some of y'all even took this sell last Friday, right? But if you're wondering why this sell didn't break lows, that's the reason why, okay? Because if we measure this strong high here, that strong high is about 48 points. And remember, this one here is about 140, 135. All right, so you get these minor sweeps of liquidity, but it's not going to overpower the strong one down at the bottom. This is why I feel like this is a trap, okay? Because this is not strong enough to overpower this. So a lot of people are going to start selling here. You might get a little reaction, and then that's going to happen. And people are going to be confused. Then they're going to say, oh, well, here's the next one, right? Here's the next point of interest. Okay. People are probably going to start selling here, and then boom, they're going to lose, taking the liquidity above this high. So then everybody's going to be super confused. They're probably going to give up at this point, right? And right when they choose to give up, okay, people done blown their accounts, they done lost money, whatever. Now that they probably kind of confused, don't know what to look for, then we'll probably get this here. Hezi crossover entry into the footprint. Probably get an announcement that somebody broke a ceasefire, something like that. And then we get the big sale, right? Probably get this on like a Tuesday or Wednesday, something like that. All right. So that's what I see happening for NASDAQ this week. All right. So we're going to start this week off bullish, in my opinion. Okay. NASDAQ, NQ, whatever y'all choose to call it. It's all the same thing to me. Okay. So I believe that we'll go ahead and push bullish to start this week. Okay. Like we've already began. But now the question becomes, can I trade in between this, right? Because this is a pretty big distance from here to here. We're talking over 800 points of movement. So are we just supposed to sit on our hands that entire time? No, right? There's moves within moves. So we can definitely get in on this action. We just need to know what the higher time frame is telling us so we know when we can stop buying and when we got to start selling, right? Because until I get to my Hezi, I'm in a buyer's market predominantly. Okay. Once I get to my Hezi crossover, then I shift to a seller's market. So now that I know I need to get up to this area, I know I need to get to about 30,500 range in order to start selling, right? I think it's 30,800 if you're looking at this on the indices side. Just double check that. Oh no, it's about 30,200. It really just depends on your broker. Different brokers have different price points. So I would just recommend you, just marking it up as you see it on my chart, and then wherever that lands you, I will go ahead and apply it there. All right. So that's that. So until we get up there, I'm looking at all of these highs as potential targets. Okay. And if these highs are potential targets, now I need reasons to buy. Okay. I'm looking for reasons to get into long positions. I can't take one now for obvious reasons. Market is at a high point. Okay. I'm not going to take a buy up here. That doesn't make sense. So what we could do is we can wait for these areas of internal liquidity to be hit, right? We can push down in here. We might accumulate in this range before we buy back up again, right? Or it'd be a little better if we come a little lower versus just tapping up here. Because if we tap up here, we could overshoot that point of interest. So I prefer the lower we go, the better. I prefer that. But, that just goes to show you, like underneath this hesitation, we could probably be in a buyer's market to go target these highs and these highs, right? So we'll see what type of buy pattern we get, okay? Again, all we do need is a retracement underneath this internal range liquidity for, buyers to potentially step in. However, if we can come lower into that range, that would be really good to get us better buy positioning. All right. So again, I do believe this up here is a trap. Not to say that it won't give a reaction. It can very well give a reaction. It might give a good reaction. But when I say it's a trap, I don't think that this supply zone is going to hold and push the market into a new low. All right. So how big this reaction is, we just got to see, right? Maybe it'll give us enough to sell down into internal liquidity. But if it does, we'll be prepared for it, right? We have a high here, could use that as a little bit of liquidity target as well, where the market comes and clears the money here, then gives us a push down to get that internal liquidity. And like I explained to y'all on Wall Street Wednesday, internal liquidity is the fuel that's necessary for a higher low to be created. Okay. So if you ever notice, higher lows, lower highs, etc., they can't form without internal range liquidity. All right. Because that is what's acting as the fueling station for a higher low to form. Okay. So that's why when I'm looking for a buy, it's always going to be underneath wherever the internal liquidity is. All right. Internal liquidity meaning where's the money at that's inside of the trading range. So right now, this is the low. This is currently the high. This is where the money is in between these 2 points. Okay. So very simple concept there. We're going with the order flow until we reach the higher time frame hezzy. Okay. So that's what I feel like we'll get this week. Be a much needed relief period after massive sales on NAS. So let's see how that plays out. All right. So that's trade opportunity one. Okay. Let's keep it pushing. And I'll go over some currencies today too. Guys, I do want y'all to just be, prepared for more currency trades. I know a lot of us are, trading indices, trading futures, trading this and that, but do not sleep on the currencies. They still move, they still pay out, right? So, use today to get funded up. I'm shooting out signals like Steph, right? Like I'm shooting, I'm not stopping, right? So every hezzy crossover I see, I'm sending it. So make sure you guys are funded up and we can make sure y'all eat, all right? So taking a look at gold. All right. So we got some weak highs above our head, all right? I don't trust these highs here. There's a little hesitation to the left of this high. Now, this is interesting, okay? This is pretty interesting because what you'll notice here is the market hesitates off of this demand and then it crosses over bearish, right? After it crosses over bearish, it retraces, clears out all signs of any hesitation, right? Because you can look at this as a hezzy that created a high, can make a lower high. We cross over, came back, tagged into it, right? So now this is a hezzy crossover. The retracement came back into that area. Here we also have hesitation, okay? Hesitation, new low, right? But one thing you got to realize is here the hesitation clears liquidity before it makes a new low. So now you have this supply chain that's in order, right? So you got supply intact, crossover, hesitation, crossover, supply gets met again. So now supply is intact again, right? Now what happens is we hesitate, crossover, all right? Market comes and wicks that high, but I still feel like we got some space left up here, right? I do think we can come and push into this area. And it would make sense why we don't have a strong high hezzy crossover currently, right? Because what type of price action is this? Okay, like there's no sell pattern that's presenting itself. So it would make sense that we have a hidden supply zone over here to the left. And then the price action that we're looking at is so ugly, right? Because, you might look at this as a strong high, but where's the, impulsive candle? There's no footprint. There's no hezzy crossover with a footprint. So we already know that this is a trap. Like it looks like a trap. You could tell by how slow the reaction is. It's a trap. And I tell y'all this all the time. When the market pushes into a high and then the reaction is slow like this, you can just mark up that high and put a dollar sign above it. Because this reaction here is telling you that they're coming back for more. Okay. So this reaction here is telling me that they're coming back for more, right? So when I look at this right here. This is a trap all day. This is going to get people tripped up. People are going to look at this as an institutional candle. This is a trap though, right? And once this trap gets taken out, we're going to come for the money that's above both of these highs. I remember when I'm trading, I like to see where retail is going to make their mistakes because it helps us with our entries as well, right? I know a lot of people are going to get tripped up on this. So the money above that high, we're not going to become that liquidity. Money above this high, we're not going to become that liquidity either. We're going to wait for both of these highs to get taken, and then we're going to get busy, right? When we come up here, this is where I want to sell on gold, right? I'm looking at 41. If you want a round number, easy to remember, 4105. Now, if you want to time it perfectly, like right when it hits that weak high up there, I think 4103. I think 4103 is safe, but 4105 is like that round number that you can easily remember. All right. So this is what I see taking place. Okay. I think the market will find its way back up here some way, somehow. And once we do, I could see the market tumbling back down. Okay. Tumbling back down. We got a couple targets down here. Honestly, I think market may come for this low, but at the very least, if we get that sell, at the very least, we should probably come here. All right. Whether we make the new low or not, don't really matter to me. I'm gonna have enough payout, or I'm gonna have enough profit by the time I reach here. All right. So that's what I'm looking for essentially. All right. So now the question is, can we take the buys in the meantime? Right. And you definitely can. Right. There's a couple setups that I'm having my eyes on right now. So first things first, I want to pay attention to this. Okay. Because if this gets hit beforehand, it could be a buy for sure. All right. Market comes down here, runs into this bullish footprint. We have a hesitation off of supply here and then a crossover. This can very well be a buy. Okay. So if the market comes down to 40.20, okay, I believe that we'll get a buy on gold. All right. So I'm just pointing that out. These highs are a trap. So now either we're going to get the sell first or we're going to get a buy that's going to lead us to the sell, right? So I would say 40.20 is a solid place to look for a buy, all right? Somebody probably eyeballing this one right now as an ace. And look, I don't blame you, right? I don't blame you. It's just a little early for me, right? If it was a different time of day, I'll be honest, I'd probably entertain this ace too, because I do see the hezi. All right. I see the black candle produce the hesitation. I see the internal range liquidity. We push down into it, but the first reaction is not that strong. So now we come and give that ace just for good measure. Right. I can see it. I really can. It's just a timing thing, though. All right. So do I think the market has the potential to react here? Yes, I do. However, time of day will not allow me to put my hard-earned money on this trade. Okay. So that's why I feel like we should probably wait for 40.20. Okay. Now, if it takes off, it is what it is because I really want the sell anyway. But if I happen to take a buy, it needs to be a really good buy, right? It needs to be a buy that I can live with the outcome. I can live with the consequences of my choices, right? So this buy down here, I can live with it because it'll be me giving the markets a little more time to materialize, okay? So that's what I see happening on gold, all right? Look for short-term bearishness. Let's look for these highs to get taken sometime this week, preferably sooner than later, maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. I am looking for these highs to get cleared out. Once they get cleared out, I want us to come push into this hidden supply over here that nobody's really paying attention to. Everybody's going to be caught up on things that's happening right in front of us. They're going to get caught up in this trap. And once they do, we'll be prepared for that sale. All right. Y'all following along so far?
Yes, sir.
All right. Perfect. Perfect. Let's take a look at some currencies and see what we got. All right. All right, GBP USD. I feel like I ain't been showing GU no love, man. GU is I can't say it's my favorite pair now, but it was, right? It was for a long time. The GU has not been moving very clean lately. I mean, it is what it is. I wanted this sell up here, never quite got it. Now it's like, okay, what do we see the market doing now? So, I do think we'll continue bearish for the time being. Where to is the question, right? There's still this untapped supply right here that could get hit. But it's not gonna go bullish at least until we come down to this low. We come down to this low, we might be able to get something down here in the form of a buy. I'm not claiming that just yet. We want to see how the market is responding in these areas. Because the market does have a correction before it pushes higher here. So, I'm curious to see if we can use this as a bit of internal liquidity. Maybe even this low over here is just a little extra on the lower time frame. So, I'm open to taking this, right? I'm open to putting money into this buy, right? Even when I look at the low, we do have a minor sweep of the lows here, and we get a couple hesitations before the crossover. So I'm open to entertaining this. It just needs to look right, right? It's not on the top of my priority list when I look at this compared to some of the other, pairs that we see. So I'm not gonna force this. If the market aligns, it's good timing. We can definitely entertain that buy, but I don't see this high holding up long term when we still have this unmitigated supply up here and we have these weak highs right here, right above this consolidation. So, I could see the market coming back up here and this just being like a counter trend buy, something temporary. And if we come up here, we may just return back bearish, right? So that's what I'm seeing currently on this, right? Because this ain't that strong. Like we can just kind of look at this and we just see, like you could see just by how aggressively it's pulling up, or I should say the lack of aggression. It's not giving true reversal type of energy. You know what I mean? So like, when it comes to these markets, you got one side of the market is moving aggressively, is dropping fast, and then you got this. It's like it's retracing, yeah, it's bullish, yeah, at least for now, but it's not giving reversal type energy. And when I don't see that reversal type energy, usually the market will come back for another attack of these lows before it gives a real reversal, right? We see this happen a lot, right? We've seen this happen on Nas and gold recently, where I told y'all, like, look, it usually takes more than one reaction. Like even right here, when we got this big buy for Micron earnings, that big buy, I was like, look, yes, it's a big buy, but it rarely just takes one rejection of a low to get a real reversal. So this is why the market came back again and again, right? So I see the same thing kind of happening with GU. It's like, yes, we did reject those lows, and we may be in bullish order flow at this moment on a lower time frame. But when we get to the supply zone, I would not be surprised to see us come back to 1.314, right? So that's what I'll be looking for. I'm looking for something temporary on the bullish side, little more intraday on the bearish side, And then we probably get a swing towards the upside if, all of this plays out. There's a lot that has to go our way though. So, we look at it day by day. Again, this is just a weekly outlook. This stuff is subject to change as we look at the markets day by day, but just on a Sunday, this is what I see. Okay. So yeah, Euro USD is not giving us much to go off of. I mean, I thought GU was ugly. I feel like EU is a little worse, right? EU is a little worse in my opinion. There's not much to go off of here, especially on the higher time frames. That's why I usually come down to these lower time frames because even in consolidation, you can start finding little patterns and little, hezzy crossovers and stuff like that on the lower time frame. So um, here again, it's not pretty, right? It's really not. There's a lot better setups out there, but if I had to take one, we got a little internal liquidity here that got grabbed. Then we look up top, we got a little footprint here. I don't know how strong this high is though. That high does kind of concern me because I don't look at it as a sweep. I look at it just as like a new high, right? So sometimes you got like a sweep of liquidity and then it's just a new high being made. I'm leaning more towards the side of this just being a new high, not a sweep, right? I do see the footprint right here, the gap, fair value gap, imbalance, a lot of different names for them. And although this is, an untested area of supply, that you could definitely use this as internal liquidity. Um, Again, this high gives me, cause to pause, a couple question marks about this high. So what I want to do in this instant is I kind of want to see what this bullish move looks like, right? If we get the bullishness from here or not, I'm not sure, but let's just say we do start going bullish. If we start doing something like this, let's say we start reacting right at or underneath this high, okay? What that's going to tell me is that there is liquidity above it, and the market is starting to accumulate orders here, okay? If that happens and we get a violent push to the upside, I'd be willing to entertain the sale, okay? I'm not saying that the sale can't happen, but this high, I just have my questions about it. So this is going to be something that I got to take in the moment. I'm not going to predetermine this already. I want to see if we get this nice consolidation prior to clearing out what could be internal range liquidity. If we get that, then I'll take the sale. But if I feel like this is just a little too bullish, I lean more towards this high being taken out, right? So I'm kind of 50-50 on this. I'll let you guys know like once we get closer to that point of interest, okay? G. So I'm gonna just look at my GBPs. I'm gonna look at my Euro crosses, and then we'll get up out of here. All right. So I did get y'all this sale. The stop I think is a little tight. Y'all probably got wicked by this. And just looking at it, I should have just put the stop above the entire supply. I think I got a little too close to cherry picking the highs. We probably should have just had like a slightly bigger stop. And that's the thing about signals versus live trading, right? Like live trading is I'm reacting to it in a moment. Signals, sometimes the stop's got to be a little bigger. So I'll take that. It's a little easier when you trade in live, but when you like predetermine in the zone, I got to open up that stop a little bit. So, the trade is hitting targets now, but I definitely probably could have gave a couple more pips on the stop. But that order flow is moving bearish, right? I got that coming to clear some lows down here. And then we could return bullish because this price action here is not telling me that it wants to melt, right? This price action here is telling me that we really probably just want to take some lows out and then come back for these highs because the market is leaving, weak highs behind for a reason. So I'll be looking for GCAD to likely continue back to the upside. All right. But it's gonna go a little bit lower first, and then we'll probably continue back to the upside. All right. I don't know if anybody's still in GA, but man, this thing is moving slow as dirt, slow as molasses. I feel like I gave this out on was it Friday or Thursday? It's still not moving. So that's the other thing, guys. So like, well, if I take a trade and the movement is like not there, like even though I don't really believe in adjusting your trades too quickly, because sometimes you fall victim to micromanaging a position, right? Like you should definitely accept the risk before you even push the button. However, there are times where like if you take the right trade, you should know because our whole strategy entails us like trading with the momentum or trading with the smart money. This is why a lot of times our targets get hit so fast, like within an hour, at least for when we're live trading. So it's like if I take a trade like this and it still doesn't have real movement like a day later or however long later, like this was taken on a Thursday and all throughout Friday and now it's Sunday. At this point, it's kind of safe to say the market may not react, right? So if I wanted to close this out, that's no problem because now, again, when we react off a high, but the reaction is weak, we'll probably come back for that high again. So now the question is, do we just do something like this, or are we going even higher than that? So that's the whole thing. That's the whole dilemma. I do think we can still respect this supply zone, right? It's just a matter of do you want to keep holding that or do you just want to wait for the ace to get a better entry, right? I'd probably do the latter, but it depends on if you're even in this trade or not. If you're not in this trade, just wait for the ace. If you are in this trade still and you don't feel like waiting or you don't want to go into any drawdown, I would say go ahead and grab that ace later on. All right. We'll likely get it tonight. Okay. If you look over to the left, you got a clear hezzy crossover. You got your bearish footprint. You got your internal range liquidity. Market tapped it once. Sometimes it needs to tap it twice, right? So we tapped it once and that reaction was weak. So if we tap into a supply zone once and the reaction is weak, we'll likely just push a little bit higher and then we'll get that real move, right? And then you got weak lows here, weak lows here, weak lows here. You have plenty of targets, and I feel like we'll get them. It's just about waiting for that smart money to come into effect. All right. Nice little hezzy crossover here. Strong low, hesitation, crossover, weak highs, wait for the internal range liquidity to get tapped. Super simple, right? So now that'll probably continue to push up, right? I could definitely see that continuing to push up to go grab highs. Only hope for you to get into this trade is if the market finds a way to retrace back towards the entry, right? If it comes back towards the entry, take another buy on GBP CAD. If not, just wait for those highs to go and then reassess once it gets up there. All right. It'll probably keep going, but in the chance that it does come back down for the lows, that should be a pretty easy buy for you guys. Just to get in again underneath internal liquidity and above that strong low. That's your area to get busy. All right. So you want to get in above, or excuse me, below internal liquidity, but above the bottom of the range. All right. If it comes back down there, it might just keep pumping though. GN, I don't really trade. I'll be honest. I'd rather just trade GA because GN has really bad spreads. All right. See what we got here. Okay. So let's take a quick look at GJ. When I'm looking at GJ, right off the bat, one thing I see is these lows are not strong, right? Not only are the lows not strong, the bullish reaction to the upside is not strong. Okay. So we got a lot telling us that the market can go bearish. Right here, for example, we have Hezi. Okay. Hezi crossover. We come and take out the Hezi right here, right? We take out the Hezi, we push into a footprint, and now the market, to me, it looks like it's realigning back to the downside. Okay. So we have a Hezi crossover, retrace, take out the Hezi, and now we're pushing back bearish, but we still have weak lows, right? So we never really rectified the weak low situation, but we do get a strong high. Not only do we get a strong high, right? We get another strong high here, okay? Market hesitates, crosses over again. Now it pushes back up into this region here. So this here, I don't want to buy this right now. Okay. I was assuming that this would hit when it did, but since the market pushed up already without hitting that area, I don't want to necessarily try to buy it again. But I do think we're going to get a sale on GJ. Okay. I do think we're going to get a sale on GJ. It's just about timing it. Okay. So we can find the sellers, Hezi crossover over here to the left. Push way down here. So we got a little hesitation here, but I don't think that's going to be the main one. We've already pushed up above this. So obviously we need to, choose something a little higher. We pushed up above this Hezi, but neither reaction is really violent. We still got a soft reaction here. We got a soft reaction here. So the market is likely going to push up a little higher. So now I'm looking for a better, higher supply zone. And the only one I could really think of is this one here, right? Because here we have a strong high. And then, we have like an untested supply zone, right? So I know some people might say, well, look, you got a hesitation, you made a new low, came and took it out. Like I got all of that, right? But at the same time, there's still a decent amount of space between this high and this high. So there's still obviously some unmitigated business. There's some unfinished business right there, right? Because you still got a little space. So if I was trading GJ, I would say we look at 214.04, right? If you want to say 05, that's easy to remember. 214.05. Okay. I could see that being our area where we sell from. I can definitely see that. Okay. So I would go from that and I would go ahead and target lows. Okay. That'll be my first entry right there. I'm also going to keep in mind that there's another Hezi up here. So in the chances that this one wants to play dirty, I already know where my option B should probably come from, right? So this is my option A. This is probably going to be my option B up here, okay? If this supply zone fails for any reason, if that supply zone fails for any reason, we're going to take this one up here, right? And I'll send these out as signals as well, so you guys don't miss them. All right, so now on to the Euro pairs. All right, on to the Euros. This one is a little more obvious, I would say. GJ is kind of like we might sell here, we might not. Euro JPY is clearly telling you where the market wants to go, right? We're not going to sell in here. And if we do, it'll be a trap. Okay. So this one is a lot easier to identify where the money is. Okay. Clearly, we got a bag of money right here because we got weak highs right here. So knowing that, we should already know what direction we going, at least for now. Tells me that this little hezzy here is likely just a trap. It'd be beautiful if we can come here. We can come here. This a buy for certain, for certain, for certain. So we'd have our strong low, have our hezzy crossover. We got a weak low here that we could use as a future trap. I would love to see this. All right. A lot has to happen. You know, we got to come down a pretty decent amount. But if we can get that, I'll take that by 100%. Right. We get down here, I'll gladly take that buy. We got to see if this trap will play out, though. All right. Got to see if that trap will play out. So either we come down here to 183.6 or 183.65, that little area. We come down here and we buy up to the highs, or we come up to the highs first and then we can sell down. Okay. I prefer the buys because if we get the sell first, I'm not really going to be interested in this buy anymore. So either we buy up to the equal highs first. All right. If we take the equal highs first, then I'm only looking for sales, right? Because we already captured this high and this high. I'm not going to try to buy after we took those highs out. All right. So either we get two trades or we get one. That's the only scenario. There's no scenario where we take both. All right. It's either we buy, then sell, or we just sell. There's not an instance where we sell first and then buy on Euro JPY. All right. So I feel like if we do get this sell, we'll probably come back for this low first. All right. But if we get the buy first, we can buy here, sell here, possibly get into buys down here. All right. So it all depends on what they want to give us first. Sometimes we get the ping pong setup. We can take everything. Sometimes we don't. All right. So Euro AUD. Untouched supply zone. Untouched supply zone above a hezzy crossover right there. All right. This here was a trap. Okay. Market ran through that trap. How's the reaction though? Reaction is decent, right? But we still don't have, like, you got this reaction here. Excuse me. You got this here. So we did sweep those highs and we pushed lower, but do we have like a clear hezzy crossover with a footprint that we can build off of? I don't think so, right? You can make arguments about whether or not this is a hezzy, whether or not this is a hezzy. Like, you can make those arguments, but I don't see that clear footprint that I would draw a supply zone with from with confidence, right? And if I can't confidently draw a supply zone, I can't confidently say we're going to get a lower high and keep selling, right? So if I don't think we're going to get a lower high, the only other option is for us to make a higher high, right? So what I think is we'll probably come up here. And then from up here, we likely get the sell that we actually want from this supply zone over here. So expect Euro AUD to push up, manipulate highs. All right. I would say 1.656 and above, start looking for sales. 1.656 and above, we're gonna start looking for sales, all right? Euro USD, we already looked at that. Euro CAD. Not very clean price action. I don't think that's worth spending money on or risking money on. Euro CAD. I don't think much has changed. I still think we can likely get a reaction up here. So nothing's really changed there. We didn't really get much movement at all last week. I mean, you see from Monday to Friday, that was all EuroCAD gave us. So that's why, like, I definitely got love for my currencies, but sometimes they just consolidate for a long time, man. One thing about indices, they gonna move, right, at the same time every day. So from a live trading perspective, indices are definitely dope, right? And futures, same thing to me. But I still like to give y'all some Forex setups every now and then because that's just like it's like the set and forget type of money. You know what I mean? You could take a signal, a pending order, and just accept your risk and let it do what it do, right? So those are all the euro pairs. Let's take a look at some AUDs, then we'll wrap it up, all right? Like for these calls to be too long because I know y'all like to rewatch them. So we're gonna move quick here, get to the end of this. AUD CAD, heavy consolidation, all right? I don't really see a footprint to the left that I would want to buy from, right? So even though we're approaching these areas, got to be a little careful, right? Because here, it's like you got a minor sweep of the lows, not much though, not much at all. Then you don't have any real footprint, right? You don't have like that explosive price action. So, I'd be real weary about trusting that as a strong low. Market is likely to just go and make a new low. And from there, might get a bullish response, might get a bullish reaction. But I got EuroCAD coming down to make a new low. Maybe under like 0.974. You might get some profit taking from that sell. And if they start taking profit on their sales, then you'll see a bullish reaction. All right. But AUD CAD is just ranging right now. AUD USD, same thing. I'm not really feeling that demand zone. I expect that to keep pushing lower. All right. Expect that to keep pushing lower. Not a big fan of that demand zone. Got a hesitation here, cleared that out, impulse back down. Yeah, it's nothing here. There's nothing here. We're not gonna force nothing. AUD ain't really giving out no real moves for real. And when I'm flicking through the pairs real quick, I'm really just looking for the market to be either approaching a zone or leaving one, right? And that's just really telling me the directional bias. I don't really see it. We're not entering any areas like here. We were clearing highs, like you're entering a prime area where you can get some action, right? But now that we're down here, it's like, are we really pushing towards anything significant? And I don't see nothing to the left that would make me want to buy. So when the market has dropped that far and you don't really see a buy, it's like I'm not going to really sell after the move has already happened, right? I'd rather just wait for the market to give me something real than to chase something that already happened, all right? So again, quick recap, guys. Quick recap before we wrap this thing up. Gold, expect bullishness, okay? And then once we get above these highs, I would expect the market to sell. So I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully it can hold off for a New York session, just so we got perfect timing with it. NASDAQ, again, market is starting to drop, which I expected, but now it's just how far will it drop? I do think we'll probably turn around here shortly tonight. I want us to turn around and target some of these highs and then get into a bigger sell later on, okay? GBP USD, again, expecting bullishness, not just yet, but I want us to come down a little bit lower. I want us to take out this Asia session low. I want us to take out this Hezi down here. Once we get down there, I want us to push back up to these highs and then get into a sell from this supply zone over here to the left, all right? Euro USD, again, we could get this sell. I got to see how the market is acting once we get there, but more than likely, we'll probably just make fresh highs, all right? And so far as the others, and I'll let y'all catch those on the let y'all catch that on the rewatch, all right? On the recording. Sorry, I couldn't find the words. But okay, fam. That's pretty much it. All right. I ain't want to kind of hold y'all too long with the weekly outlook because I know a lot of y'all want to like to rewatch, and some people got other stuff they doing on Sundays. But that's what I see happening to start the week. All right. Like I said, this stuff can definitely change. So make sure you're active in the chats, and keep an alert for updates. All my people that's new. We got any new people on the call? Drop a one in the chat if you knew, if this is like your first week trading with us. We've had a lot of new people join. I want to say like 26 in the past week. So what's up to all my new people? D, I did shoot you a DM on IG. I don't know if you replied yet, but if you did, I'll be in touch here shortly. If that's the same D, I think that's the same D. So I'll be in touch here shortly. But yeah, all new people, welcome to Trade Genius. If you got any comments, questions, or concerns, feel free to hit me up. I do just want to make y'all aware because unfortunately, a few people have fallen victim already. All right. Take a look at this. All right, the scam alert, very important. Right, you guys have been being DM'd by somebody pretending to be me. I'm not affiliated with Lotus Capital. That is not a broker that I recommend. Okay. So, I'm not doing hands-free copy trading. If I ever do something like that or managing accounts, I will let it be known here live on a Zoom call, right? Where you can hear my voice, see my face, but don't just take that, through a DM as facts, all right? I don't want you guys to get got. Unfortunately, a handful of you guys have already have already been finessed and scammed, which is very unfortunate. But, guys, I want you to just kind of be smart about this stuff. Like, check my page. Look, my username is Ray Baylor, right? RayBaylor. The guy that's scamming y'all, I think it's like two A's or it's like two Y's or something like that. You just got to be aware of this type of stuff. All right. Just don't fall victim. right? Now, I heard somebody lost 500 recently, and it messed me up. So I try to put it here so you guys are aware, but I guess everybody doesn't check this tab. So I'm letting you guys know right now. Be on the lookout for that. And all the like the side DMs and stuff, like, bro, if something looks fishy, just hit me personally, drop it in the chat so that way we can verify. But again, if you need a broker, here are the links. Okay. I'm gonna be dropping Forex signals this week, so you might want to fund up. I get it. Some of you guys prefer futures, which is fine, all right? But again, if you're just trying to get paid, right? Like a handful of people got started last week and they were able to make money their first week, right? Shout out to Jay from North Carolina. He already made $1,000, traded with Trade Locker, right? I have nothing against funded accounts, but if the objective is to make money now and make it fast, you need to fund up a personal trading broker, right? Because a lot of you guys get into a situation of where, you might make the money to pass an account, or you might be trading a live account, but you got to be profitable for 5 days. So let's say you make money in day one, day two, you still got 3 more days where you need to make at least $150 or whatever the requirement is, and you go on a losing streak or you blow your counter. This happens to people, right? I'm gonna do everything in my power to make sure it don't happen, but I'm not there with you 24 hours a day, so I can't monitor every decision that you make. So, with that being said, if you're trying to come in and like make money on a call, take that money out the same day and like experience it, right? Once you experience the process of consistently withdrawing, that is then where I would personally look to funding later down the line. That's just my personal opinion, right? If somebody's been trading for years, like getting funded, this is like your professional trader type stuff, right? Whereas like you're not really there for the emotions of the ups and downs. You don't really care necessarily. Like if you don't get a withdrawal today, it's not gonna bother you. But like if you're just trying to get in that rhythm and create that muscle memory for actually making money in the markets, get you a funded account or a personal account, excuse me, fund up, and then I'm going to be sending signals this week. So, definitely lock in with that and we'll get you guys squared away. All right. Ain't nothing like a live account. I'm trying to tell him, man. Like I love the fundeds. I got both. I literally have both. I passed the funded on the call in front of y'all face. What was it, Wednesday or Thursday? But it's something about just being able to make that money, pull it out the same day, especially y'all that's on a trial, right? If you are on a trial, I'll just end with this, right? Make the decision to be here long term, right? Like I wanted to give you guys an opportunity to come in and catch the vibes of the group, see the value in the course material and all of that. But at the end of the day, nobody on this call is going to become a full-time trader in a week. I'm like just being honest, right? So make the commitment, that you want to stick around, all right? Because I can guarantee you that'll be well worth the investment. I've had several people that came in and, they may have made 1,000 their first week. They may have made several hundred their first week. And there's going to be somebody that just might not be your story. Maybe you watching, maybe you're trying to see the vibes of the group or the accuracy of the trades first, and then you want to take a trade later. But all I'm going to say is don't let this be something that prevents you from staying long term, right? I would just find it in the budget, right? Ration it out, $30 a week. That covers your Trade Genius membership as well as your access to the course material that's going to continue to grow. And if you tap in with us every single day, I could assure you that's going to be the last of your concern. And I'll show you how to make that in the blink of an eye. All right. But you got to stick around long enough to gain the skills. All right. So with that being said, man, hopefully, you guys stick around. We can make a lot of money together. And looking forward to helping all you guys reach your goals. All right. And last but not least, I will be sending my Calendly link here in the chat. If you guys have not set up your one-on-one with me, please do so. So that way we can knock some calls out tomorrow. We can do some one-on-ones. I want to sit down with you. I want to get to know who you are. I want to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. So that way, I can make sure I'm helping you guys get to your goals and help you accomplish what you want to achieve. All right. Other than that, that's all I got. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Everybody good? Talk to me. Any other comments, questions, or concerns? Are we all good? All right, beautiful, beautiful. Well, look, y'all enjoy y'all last day of the weekend. Let's hit the ground running tomorrow. Hop in that course, man. 30 minutes to an hour this evening. And like I said, I'll drop my calendar link. Make sure all you new people, you set up your one-on-one with me. And let's get right. All right. Let's have another phenomenal week. Let's keep this winning streak going, man. Peace.